Hello crafty friends, today we are gonna bust some more bits from my box of backgrounds and bits. I've selected lots of brown warm colours and what I want to do is cut out lots of sequins. So I've got this sequin die, but I only want to use this size sequin because I want all my circles to be the same size. All my bits here are much the same value. There's no variation between light and dark apart from this bit, and I do want some variation. So I've got these which don't really fit in with this colour scheme. I'm going to colour them with some ink. So I've got some vintage photo here and I'll just blend it over these and it will tone down the redness of these pieces and also create some darker pieces that will give me some contrast. So those are coloured and I'm going to cut all my bits down so they will fit over this area. So I've cut all those bits down. What I want to do is bring in some metallic. So I've got this rose gold card which I will cut some circles from. Got this piece of white cardstock here that I'm adding tape to, and I'm going to tape it to my cutting plate. This is a shim, just adds a little bit of extra pressure as the die goes through the die cutting machine, and I'm taping it here so I don't have to faff around with it every time I want to die cut. So this might take a while. I'll come back to you when I've finished it all. Right, that took a while. I had to poke all the holes out of the sequin shapes as well, but we got there in the end. Right, I've got 4 card blanks, just smooth white cardstock. Just pop them in my stamp positioner one at a time. I've got my rule of thirds grid here, and this set of sentiment stamps, which I believe was designed by Marion Emberson for Wow. And I'm going to place them, each one, on a different intersection of the rule of thirds grid. So I can pop that there, pick that up, make sure this stays in the same place, move that out the way, and I'm going to stamp each one in black, I think. What I want to do with this card is to add some columns of sequins, and I want them to be centered around the sentiment. So the sentiment is about 4 centimeters wide. So I'm just going to put a little mark here in pencil at 2 centimeters. And that's where I want to center my sequins. So I'm going to grab a sequin, dip it into some high-tack PVA glue and place it over that line there. I'll be able to rub out any visible pencil marks. And now I can use my T-square ruler to get a perfectly vertical line and then pick up, oops, one at a time preferably, pick up my sequins and stick them down. I want to try avoiding getting too much glue on the back of the sequins because this glue does dry sort of glossy, and if it splurges out you might be able to see it when the card's finished. But I'm using this glue rather than matte gel medium, which dries matte, because it's tacky, it holds the sequins in place while they're drying, so they shouldn't go all over the place. They should stay where I've put them. I'm not going to try and do a repeating pattern. I think that's just going to do my head in, so I will just do what looks nice. I'm going to put my ruler around the other way because at this end there's a bit of a gap that develops, so it makes it a little bit easier to, harder rather, to butt things up at that end. Now I'm going to do another column. Of course you can do this kind of thing with any colour you like. I've chosen a warm colour scheme. You could certainly do cool colours, blues, greens, purples. If you do find that glue is splurged out, you can pounce a damp baby wipe on top and it should hopefully pick up the glue without making a mess of your little circles. Right, I'm gonna do a third row now. You can do this kind of thing with other shapes. This would look good with hexagons, I think. There's a couple of splurgy bits. Now, I'm gonna push all these down really well with a bit of non-stick paper to protect the card from mucky fingerprints. If you've got any glue on top of your foiled bits, you could just go over them with a baby wipe to clean them up. And that is a very clean and simple card. All it takes really is some dedication to die cutting. What I'm going to do now is take these cards and arrange rows and columns of these circles on the cards around the sentiments. And once I've done that, I'll come back and show you the finished results. Well, that took longer than I thought it was going to do and was far more frustrating than I thought it was going to be. This one went really well. You saw me do this one on camera. Really pleased with this. I like the simplicity of it and the mixture of colour and metallic and a bit of texture in some of the cardstock. And I do like having the sentiment on the card with these raised above it, if you see what I mean. However, I managed to mess up these three cards. This one multiple times. So with this one, the Just a Note one, I decided to go diagonally and I used a strip of masking tape to help me line up my circles, but it didn't kind of work around the Just a Note. The circles didn't finish nicely around the sentiment. So I just decided to stamp it on a bit of card, die cut it out with a rectangle die and pop it over the top. And I think that works just fine. Same thing here with the thinking of you. I didn't quite get my thinking of you in the gap that I wanted to get it in. So I decided just to fill up the gap and then stamp it on some cardstock, cut it out and stick it on top. And again, that works fine. So with this one, because I've got 5 rows of circles, you don't get quite so much white space, so it looks a bit busier and fuller. I like both of these. Of course, you could cover an entire panel in little circles like this and then die cut from it maybe. And for this final one, I decided to go horizontal, and goodness me, it was the hardest one to do. I don't know why, but I kept putting circles down in the wrong place, and then when I picked them up, obviously it tore the paper. So I decided just to make 3 rows, and I've offset these so they're not, what's the word? They're not like that. You don't have vertical columns. You've got them at an angle here. And then I just pop the sentiment on top again. I still have a good number of sequins left, so I'm going to pop these in a pot somewhere. And if I ever get the urge to make another one of these cards, I can do so. Right, I hope this has given you another idea or two of things you can do with your backgrounds or your bits of backgrounds or scraps of pattern paper. If it has, do let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you back here very soon for another background busting video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.